Good afternoon and welcome to the Way Forward on WBOK. I'm Eddie Francis. It is a pleasure to be hanging out with you this afternoon. As they say, it's nice to see you. It is nice to be seen. And so this afternoon, yet again, we are going to have some conversation for about an hour about something that we want to understand better or something that we want to solve. Today is a chilly day, isn't it? It's the high is 46 today. I think we've already seen a high today. Tomorrow's going to be a little bit warmer. The high is going to be 57. I think there's going to be a little rain tomorrow. So make sure you get out and enjoy some sun today. Again, it's chilly, but it is sunny. That's a good thing. And then also, carnival season has begun. We are in full swing. Hopefully you were disciplined enough to get your king cake after 12th night. And so hopefully you went ahead and got yourself something nice and tasty, and you have been enjoying your king cake. If you're here in New Orleans or in South Louisiana, if you are a New Orleanian who is not in the area, hopefully you've been able to get your hands on some king cake, or you will be able to get your hands on some king cake. There's actually a parade today in Covington. It is the Fools of Misrule, Miss a Marching Parade. But we are going to get into full swing in Mardi Gras. Starting February 22nd. That's going to be a pretty heavy parade weekend. And of course, Mardi Gras is March 4th. And so please get out and try to enjoy yourself. And also make sure you join the conversation here on WBOK. You can join the conversation by going to WBOK1230.com. You can also enjoy the conversation on Facebook. Hang out with us there. You can comment on Facebook. You can join the chat on YouTube, WBOK 1230. Also on Twitch, if you're on Twitch. Of course, it is streaming live on the website, WBOK1230.com. And if you are in New Orleans, then you can enjoy us on the radio dial, 1230am.com as well. Today, we are going to talk about the art of thinking big. The art of thinking big. I'm going to tell you about the guest in a few. But the reality when it comes down to thinking big for a lot of people is that dreaming big can be scary for a lot of different reasons. Maybe it's because you don't want to be disappointed when the dream doesn't work out. Maybe thinking big is a problem for you because you have a touch of imposter syndrome. There are some people who don't like to think big because, quite frankly, they have been discouraged from thinking big. And so today's guest, again, I'll tell you about her in just a little bit. Today's guest is someone who I really admire for her ability to think big and to make some things happen as well. And I will tell you about that guest in just a little bit. You can use the hashtag #TheWayForwardWBOK on Facebook, also on YouTube, so you can get involved in some of our past conversations or check out some of the past episodes. We've had episodes talking about the economy, understanding the economy, understanding public policy, understanding how we can do charitable giving for 2025 that's going to move the needle in some way. Last week, we had a conversation about understanding politics at its core. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell that friend and to tell another friend to log on to WBOK1230.com to listen to the show every Saturday at 2 o'clock, the Play Old app, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. And, of course, again, if you're here in New Orleans, you can check us out on your AM dial, 1230. Use the hashtag on social media, The Way Forward WBOK. Not only do you have to hang out with us on our WBOK channels, but you can also hang out with me on social media on my platforms. Just find me at Eddie Francis 06. Eddie Francis 06 on Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube. Also, you can find me on Facebook, Eddie Francis there. So when it comes to dreaming big, the question is, do you even do it? Do you think you've even had a reason to dream big? Do you even take the first step? for a big idea that you've cooked up. And when you see an obstacle, because we all see obstacles, no matter how big or small our dreams are, when you see an obstacle, what do you do? Does the obstacle look really, really insurmountable? Or do you look at the obstacle and say, an obstacle, and you just run right over the thing? You go around it, you go through it. What do you do? What happens when things start to fall apart? Because at some point, it looks like something is not going to fall or come together. And are you the type of person who may even ask the question, is dreaming big even worth it? You know, I'm going to throw something in here. For a lot of black folks, this is a pretty interesting discussion, especially for those of us from the deep South. There are a lot of reasons for that I'm sure you and I can think about. But the person who is going to talk to us today is a good friend. I've known her for a while. Her name is Dr. Kiki Baker Barnes. You might know the name. At one point, she did do a sports show here on WBOK. But Kiki is somebody who is a dear friend. I've known her since she was a student at UNO when she played basketball there. And I have watched this woman attack big dreams in a good way and really, really make some stuff happen. Things where people have gone back to her and asked her the question, how did you even do this? How did you make this happen? How are you able to convince this person to do this thing? And because Kiki has a way of making big dreams come true, we're going to hear from her and we're going to have a great discussion with her about the art of the big dream. But to get everything kicked off for this show, by the way, good afternoon, Martin Curley. Thank you for logging on and joining me on Facebook. To get the show kicked off, like I always do, let's talk about what's good. These are stories that I like to share to make us feel better about people doing some cool things in the world, organizations doing some good things in the world, things that can make us say, okay, there's some good stuff out there happening. And the first thing is a story from the Louisiana Weekly. Liberty Bank President Todd McDonald, son of Alden, was recently named to Forbes magazine's inaugural Forbes Black 50 list. The list celebrates leading black entrepreneurs around the world. Now, McDonald was honored alongside some people you may have heard of. Beyonce, Magic Johnson, Jay-Z, Dr. Dre, Michael Jordan, Shonda Rhimes, Tyler Perry, Serena Williams, Oprah Winfrey, and more. Yeah, that kind of list. Forbes' website said it evaluated candidates through core pillars of wealth, power, and impact. Liberty Bank, by the way, based here in New Orleans, is the largest black-owned bank in the U.S. McDonald told Forbes that he hopes to expand Liberty into every state and bring the total number of branches to 200. During his tenure as Liberty's president, McDonald has overseen partnership with J.P. Morgan Chase and scored a contract with the U.S. Treasury Department to assist distribution of federal benefits and services. Again, that story from the Louisiana Weekly. River Parish's Community College, their newsroom, the college is partnering with the Southern University Law Center's Office of Innovation and Strategic Partnerships and Initiatives to host an expungement event for St. John's Parish. The residents on Saturday, February 1st, are going to be able to go to that event from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the River Parish's Community College Reserve Campus. The expungement initiative is designed to address barriers to employment and create pathways for individuals seeking to rebuild their lives. At the event, residents will have the opportunity to have their criminal records reviewed to determine their eligibility for expungements. Representatives from RPCC's Adult Education and Workforce Training divisions will be on hand during the event, along with business and industry partners who are looking to fill positions at their companies and organizations. Participants are required to bring their valid driver's license, a background check from Louisiana State Police, a certified copy of minutes, and a certified bill of information. For more information, call Southern University Law Center at 225 278 1332. That's 225 278 1332. Or River Parishes Community College at 225 955 5525. That's 225 955 5525. I'm going to put this information in the Facebook comments and also in the YouTube chat, along with the link to the article so you can have that information. From the University of New Orleans newsroom, Assistant Professor of Psychology Deborah Carson won a $50,000 award for the National Academy of Medicine to research social connection in aging adults. Carson is one of 16 project leaders around the world to receive a 2024 Healthy Longevity Catalyst Award. The award is focused on stimulating research and entrepreneurism to support potential breakthroughs in healthy longevity. Carson's project is called The Neurological Mechanisms of Social Connection on Aging Adults. So here's why this is important. According to researchers, social connection is vital for well-being. A lack of connection can significantly reduce quality of life, increase stress, disrupt sleep, and increase morbidity. The impact of social disconnection, such as loneliness and isolation, is as severe as, get this, smoking 15 cigarettes or consuming 6 alcoholic drinks a day. The Catalyst Awards received 1,100 applications from innovators around the world in the 2024 cycle. Winners are chosen based on novelty and innovation. Again, that is Professor Deborah Carson from the University of New Orleans, who won a $50,000 award for her research. From NBC News, Oscar-winning director Barry Jenkins has begun 2025 with 2 films in the top 10 at the box office. Mufasa, The Lion King, began the year at number 1. The Fire Inside began the year at number 10. Mufasa is the story, of course, of how the character from the original Lion King became royalty. Of course, that original character was voiced by James Earl Jones. And then The Fire Inside is a biopic about Clarissa T-Rex Shields, the first American woman to win a gold medal in boxing. Jenkins, you might not know the name, but you do know his work. He's known for directing the Academy Award-winning film Moonlight. In addition to If Beale Street Could Talk, he also directed the television shows Dear White People and The Underground Railroad, and he was the executive producer for 2024's True Detective on Max. Now, if you want to see some winning basketball locally, I know exactly where you can go. And I'm not going to take a dig at the Pelicans because I am a Pelicans fan. I love the Pelicans. And by the way, I think they're looking better. But if you do want to see some winning basketball, actually, Gert Town is where you want to be. Come on over to Gert Town, where WBOK sits on a campus of Xavier University. The Xavier Gold Nuggets, the women, they are now 15-0. They started 15-0 after defeating the Texas A&M San Antonio Jaguars on Thursday, and the Gold Nuggets are actually looking to extend their streak to 16-0 today against Our Lady of the Lake University in San Antonio. Why does this mean anything? Because this is the first time that a Xavier basketball team, either men or women, have started their season 15-0. And by the way, the Gold Rush are not doing too bad either. They're 11-3 overall right now. They are 10-2 in the Red River Athletic Conference, and they're going to take on Our Lady of the Lake today at 3 p.m. And that is if you want to go ahead and send some well wishes. Of course, if you just happen to be listening from San Antonio, go check out the Gold Rush and go check out the Gold Nuggets. And so that is the good stuff. Now, there is one athletic conference that actually bears the name HBCU Athletic Conference. Yes, this is what the conference is called, and the commissioner is today's guest, Dr. Kiki Baker Barnes. She's going to talk to us about the art of dreaming big. But let's get this out of the way because we have to talk about this, and I'm going to let Kiki talk about this a little bit when she starts her interview later on. But get this, The HBCU Athletic Conference, I'm going to tell you a story here. Um, a few years ago, the HBCU Athletic Conference was known as the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. Now, this is a conference, when it started, it actually had teams like Loyola, William Carey University, Belhaven. Xavier was I don't know if Xavier was a charter member of the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. And Dillard was in there at some point. Suno was actually a part of this conference at one point. A few years ago, a lot of those teams left. Loyola, William Carey, Belhaven, they left for the Southern States Athletic Conference, I think. And then Xavier, a little later on, left for the Red River Athletic Conference. And so what happened with the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference is that they were basically on life support. I think there were 4 or 5 teams. At the time, I was working at Dillard. I was working alongside Kiki and some other folks, really, really trying to keep this conference afloat. And I'm going to give you all of Kiki's accolades when she starts and when she comes in a little bit. But what she was able to do is she was able to get this conference that was on life support and get this. Now, the HBCU Athletic Conference, which used to be the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, now has 13 members in 9 states. If you know the members, give me a call now, 504-582-9422. I'm joking. But the cool thing is 13 member institutions in 9 states. If you will, the league that Dillard and Suno play in is called the NAIA. They don't play in the NCAA. They play in the NAIA, and all of these members of the HBCU Athletic Conference, they play in the NAIA. So if you will, this is like the SWAC version almost of the NAIA. So I will let you off the hook. So here are the members, and I'm going to run this down to you because I think this sets the stage for this interview. Once upon a time, again, I have to stress this to you. Once upon a time, this athletic conference was on life support. Only a few institutions. Now, here's what you're talking about. Let's start with Louisiana. The members of the HBCU Athletic Conference are Dillard and Suno. So we gave Xavier their love. We gave them their flowers. By all means, take out some time, especially if you have a kid who loves basketball. Check out some local college basketball. Go to check out some Dillard games and some Suno games. You got to do that. Okay. The conference extends to, get this, South Carolina, where Voorhees University, formerly Voorhees College, is a member. And then we move over to Alabama, Oakwood University, Stillman College, Talladega College. And then we go up to Tennessee, where Fisk University is a member. Mississippi, Tougaloo College, also a longtime member of the GCAC, but then Rusk College also. And now let's move over to Texas, where Wiley University, formerly Wiley College, is a member of the HBCU Athletic Conference. Arkansas, Philander Smith University, formerly Philander Smith College. And then Tennessee, like I said, we did get Tennessee already. But also, here are a couple that you didn't see coming. Ohio, Wilberforce University is a member of the HBCU Athletic Conference. And this, to me, is the cherry on top. The Virgin Islands. The University of Virgin Islands, a member of the HBCU Athletic Conference as well. How about that? I think that's pretty cool. So again, coming up to join us in a conversation about the art of thinking big is Dr. Kiki Baker Barnes. She is the commissioner of the HBCU Athletic Conference, but also she is a big dreamer. If you want to jump in on the conversation, you can call 582-9422, 582-9422. That's area code 504. Or you can comment on Facebook, or you can jump in the chat on YouTube with WBOK. This is The Way Forward. I'm Eddie Francis on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about. And welcome back to The Way Forward on WBOK. I'm Eddie Francis. Make sure you listen to the Reality Check every Wednesday, or every weekday, I should say, every weekday with Gerard Stevens, 1 to 4 p.m. Central Time. After that, check out the Sports Report, 4 to 7 p.m. here on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about. Dreaming big is something that many of us are encouraged to do, but the reality is that dreaming big can be scary, especially when we can't seem to take our eyes off the obstacles. Sometimes we might not think we're worthy of a big dream. Sometimes we just don't get encouraged to dream big. Well, Dr. Kiki Baker Barnes is a big dreamer. She just fulfilled one dream. She released her book, Blazing Your Own Trail: Faith, Focus, and Forward Momentum in Leadership. She's the commissioner, as I said, of the HBCU Athletic Conference, the first Black commissioner, by the way, of that conference when it was the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, former athletics director at Dillard University, and founder of So You Want a Career in Athletics. And here is my favorite part: former standout player from the University of New Orleans and triple jump record holder. Does your record still stand?
My record still stands.
Okay, all right, I see you, sis. But the cool thing, and Kiki, I was just telling the audience a story about when the GCAC was on life support, and they handed you this conference. And it's just like, yeah, good luck and God bless.
Good luck and God bless.
I mean, you had institutions hemorrhaging. I mean, the conference was hemorrhaging members.
We were.
And it was down to what, like 4 or 5
We were
members?
We were down to 4.
Down to 4.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as I just told the audience, 13 members, 9 states, including the Virgin Islands.
Yes, sir.
Or at least it should be 8 states and the Virgin Islands.
I'd say 8 states and 1 U.S. territory.
And 1 U.S. territory. There we go. So technically, that's what we're talking about. So
Yep.
I love this. I mean, the roll call is so cool. I mean, Louisiana, you got Dillard and Suno.
Yep.
South Carolina, Voorhees. Alabama, Oakwood, Stillman, and Talladega. Tennessee, Fisk. Mississippi, Tougaloo and Rusk. Texas, Wiley. Arkansas, Philander Smith. Ohio. Which, when I saw that, I was like, oh, we pulling Ohio now.
We're pulling Ohio. I'm just saying. I like to tell people we have the same footprint as the SEC.
Yeah, so you got Wilberforce, and then from the VI, you got the University of Virgin Islands.
That's
so,
right.
Welcome.
Thank
Congratulations on the book launch.
Thank you.
I'm
glad
to
to be
see
here.
you as always. And so let's start in with the questions here. I've heard you talk about a vision for something. I mean, I've heard you just blurt out your big dreams or whatever it is, and I've watched you make something. If not that thing happen, I've watched you make something happen. So when you have a big dream, what is your first step? 2 parts of this. What's your first step, and how do you stay on track with it?
So first step, got to write it down.
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually would sit and talk to, spend a lot of time with student athletes. So when we were, my students, game day management team and young people that I was mentoring. And so when I would say in iteration mode where we're talking about things that we want to do, and I start dreaming and I start thinking about what it would look like if we could do this big thing, I write it all down.
Yeah.
Like literally. And, I would say my Christian background would say, write the vision and make it plain. Like that's what the Bible say from my church going time in my life. Well, still church going, but as a Christian, it's always write the vision and make it plain. So, but practically, I mean, write it down. Like that was always the first step. And so when I have an opportunity, I still have every planner from college.
Really?
So I could go back to 1993 or 94. What are we? Okay, in January of 93. Okay, so I started college in fall of 93. So let's say 94. I could go to January, what's today, 11? 1994, and I could tell you what was happening that day.
Really?
For every year since I left home. And what you'll see in those planners is me planning homework. Like I had dates for when things were due. I've been doing this for years. Like first it was just a calendar and learning to be organized. But when I started having ideas and when I got into the career space, I would have a notepad. And again, this is all before we transition to technological advancements like, Good Notes and all these apps. But I would write them down. So I have every notebook,
Mm-hmm.
and there are about 15 notebooks from my time when I started at Dillard with basically task lists for everything that I wanted to do. I want to do this. Well, how do I do that? Then I start writing down all the things that need to happen. And so that's how I start to formalize a plan. So the first part wasn't like, well, when you have a dream, you've got to be very detailed. You've got to write it down. And then from that point, you have to start to figure out, well, who do I need to accomplish this? Because you can't accomplish big things alone.
Right.
It's not
Right.
possible.
Right.
It's not possible to do anything alone. So then you have to look at the long task list of things that, okay, if I want to do this, I've got to do A, B, C, D, and E. Who in my sphere can help me to accomplish those things? So I would say number one thing is gotta write it down.
Yeah. This is where vision boards can be really useful.
They can be.
I mean, people kind of laugh at them sometimes, and they might see somebody's vision board, and they're like, "What is this?" But I mean, it doesn't matter. It only matters to the person with the vision board.
Yeah. The other piece of that I think that's important. So it's one thing to write it down.
Mm-hmm.
The second part of it is something has to lead you to take action.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just enough to write it down. You also have to put it in a place where you can see it and that you can meditate. I'd like to say meditate, and you can think about it often. Sometimes putting timelines on things. So sometimes things don't always happen in the time that you need them to,
Right.
but you have to be able to measure how you're towards the progress of the task.
Mhm.
So having your plan where you can see it. And so what would happen? So I envision this book. Let's talk about the book process. So as I was preparing for the launch, I was trying to kind of put together, like, how am I going to contextualize this for people who are going to show up?
Mhm.
Like, why is this important? Why now? Those kinds of questions. So I started going back, looking through my calendar, and I was trying to say, like, at what point when did I write it down?
Mhm.
I wrote it down in 2017.
Wow.
And it was on my calendar. It was a meeting that I had with a student author at Dillard who had just published their book. And I was like, well, I want to write a book.
Yeah.
So I set up a meeting with a student and asked them to
Mhm.
tell me, well, what do I need to do to write a
Yeah.
book?
Yeah.
2017. Okay, we're in 2025, and I didn't activate until 2024. So there's the sitting and there's the writing it down. And so every year on my vision board, write the book. And then I would start towards some of the tasks that I
Mhm.
remember her telling me, like, you need to do this. You might have to find a publisher. You might have to do a book pitch. You need a graphic designer. So there were a number of things that she gave me
Mhm.
that I needed to do. And some of those things were easy. Well, I could find a graphic designer. I could find a publisher. But if Kiki don't write, we don't have anything to promote.
Yeah. And so, so at some point, has there been a dream that you've had that's kind of scared you a little bit? Or at least the process of making it happen?
No.
Oh, you just go full steam ahead.
Well, and the reason I say that is because my dream, I feel like, was more generic. And what do I mean? So my dream was that I was going to be a very powerful and influential woman
Mm-hmm.
in some kind of way. Like when I dreamed about what my life would be like if I had achieved my best self when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
I was high society. I was super influential. I could speak and people would do things. I could make things happen. When I dreamed about what I would be in this world, that's what I dreamed I would be. Now, what I wasn't clear on was how.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because the career that I have, which is the reason why my book is called Blazing Your Own Trail, isn't the path that I wanted. It wasn't the path that I saw myself achieving that goal. I thought I was going to be a TV show host. I thought that I would do,
Okay.
I saw a way to be influential. I saw Oprah, and she was influential in a very positive way.
Mhm.
So when I dreamed about being influential in the way she utilized her platform, that's
Mhm.
the way I envisioned myself being influential in the world.
Mhm.
I'd bring people together in some kind of way, and I would, um, just by a word for me or a smile for me, I would make people happy.
Mhm.
So my desire and my dream and the way that I thought that I was going to achieve my dream was to be a TV host.
Mhm.
But I became a basketball coach.
So, with that being said, though, there are these people that'll say, "Well, if your dreams really scare you, then that's the right dream." Do you think fear can be that kind of motivator for people in their dreams?
It depends on whether it makes you take action.
Yeah.
Um, I believe that I believe that you're gonna be scared, but you
Mhm.
can't be so scared that you don't take action. So
Right.
to me,
Right.
fear is useful if it makes you act. If it does not make you act or not act. So for instance, parents would say things like, I'm gonna put the fear of God in you so you don't do stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. So I'm in college. I'm going to the party. It done hit midnight. I'm still at the party. And in the back of my mind, it's like, don't nothing really good happen at 12 o'clock while you still out. So now I got my mama's voice in the back of my head saying, now you're not no different. You're not special. A bullet don't have a name. And so I'm thinking about what my mama might say, and the fear of what she might say got me to go home
Right.
and be where I'm supposed to be. So I think there is a healthy kind of fear, or maybe a respect for rules that may help you govern yourself in a way that put you in
Yeah.
better position. Fear in that way where it's more respect. But if it's fear and I'm scared and I'm not going to do something because I'm scared because I don't know the outcome, you have to overcome that.
You're listening to The Way Forward on WBOK. I'm Eddie Francis, and we are talking to Dr. Kiki Baker Barnes. She is the commissioner of the HBCU Athletic Conference and author.
I'm an author.
I know. How does it feel to
I
have
like the
that?
way you say that.
Yeah. You have to let that sink in. You have to let
I'm
that
an
sink in. And we're
author.
talking about the art of thinking big, because this is something that I have watched Kiki do for a long time. So, for a lot of people, a big dream can seem to really fall apart when it's time to take an important action, like pitching something, a product, a business, an idea, especially if they're doing it to the decision maker, right?
Yes.
So talk about a time when you were at a moment of truth. You might have been nervous and you figured out how to take that important step so that you could move that dream forward.
Well, when I wanted to write the book, the first thing I did was like, I need a website. I wrote the book, but I need a website.
Yeah.
I did the website. Then I said, I need to go get some training. So I joined the Maxwell Certification Group. Okay. And then I said, I'm a speaker, trainer, coach. And I remember promoting it, and nobody booked me to speak.
Yeah, I know that feeling all too well.
I was like, wait a minute. I don't know how to explain.
This isn't how I looked on Instagram.
I got the website, I got a credential, and now the money's supposed to flow, and then the money didn't flow. And what I'll say is that is what people are fear the most.
Yeah.
It's rejection.
Mhm.
The reason people will not take a step forward is because they are scared that when they put themselves out there, people are gonna not book them. They won't buy your material. They won't, you won't win. You won't get the thing that you desire. I pitch my idea by Blue Devil Classic. And
Yeah.
I pitched that idea like 2-3 times, and people just looked at me like,
And I'm laughing because I've been in a meeting with Kiki when she talked about, when you talked about how big you wanted the Blue Devil Classic to be.
The Bayou Classic of basketball.
The Bayou Classic of basketball. Yeah.
And it just fell on deaf ears.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, like, nobody's listening to me. That's what we don't want rejection.
But what about pitching? So expanding the athletic conference from 4 members to 13 members. What about pitching to institutions to be members? What was it like in those moments of truth and when you were having those conversations?
So that was, let me see, my first go round at this was in 2010.
Yeah.
So let me just share from a historical perspective. This is like the second time we've done this.
Mm-hmm.
So when I took over as president in 2010, the reason I was taking over was because we lost 6 members. And the only members that were left were the 4 HBCUs.
Mm-hmm.
I took over in that meeting.
Oh, 2020.
No.
Oh, 2010.
2010,
Oh,
right
get
after
outta here.
Katrina.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay.
This not the
That's
I'm
right.
on
You
round
did say
two.
this is the second iteration.
This is the second time. So in that first instance, now I'm just the new athletic director and I'm the head coach. I'm working on my PhD. And then I decide, I'll raise my hand and be the what's my Hunger Games? I'll be tribute.
Oh, I'll be tribute, yeah.
I'll be the
volunteer's tribute, yeah.
I volunteer as tribute for
Yeah.
Hunger Games. I volunteered as tribute to lead the conference when we were about to close then. So I remember meeting with the current commissioner at that time, because I wasn't commissioner, I was the president.
Right.
And I say to Commish, like, hey, maybe we can recruit these others. So I pitched my idea, and they received this idea because we didn't have nothing else.
Yeah.
And my council of president's chair was Dr. Beverly Hogan at that time at Tougaloo. So they just kind of let me work. And so I just went and did my pitch, and we were able to get a couple of schools. I think we wound up getting 4 schools in to help us figure it out for the next few years. And again, we get back to 2020 and we're here again. People aren't really happy with direction. We don't have a full-time person. We want a full-time person. There's just some people always got something to complain about, right? Nowhere's perfect, but we're going through those things. And so as we were going through this for the second time, like I can say that there were things that we had learned from the first time that I felt like would help us from a strategy standpoint. So when I presented the plan to the the council of presidents at that time, they were like, okay, let's go forward with it. So then it became recruiting like basketball. Like, I was like, well, I've done that before.
Mm-hmm.
I was a pretty good recruiter. I was like, so I know what that looks like. So then I put together a presentation. I'm understanding what the benefits are. I understand what they need. And so when I show up, I'm connecting what I know they want with what I know we can provide. And all of that was a process of me helping to learn how to pitch better.
Mm-hmm.
But would I have been able to successfully pitch these schools now if I hadn't had the failures before? Then maybe not. And so this is the piece that when we're thinking about when you want to blaze your own trail, or you have a dream and you're trying to figure it out, you actually have to do the thing to see what works and what doesn't work.
And some people don't want it to Some people don't even want to fail a little bit.
No, you don't want to fail, but failure is the way. I have a saying that says failure is initiation to success. You will not be successful if you don't mess it up first. It's not possible. The person that I am that shows up, that's all award winning and all these winners, is a person that just kept trying. She failed. She got back up. She tried again. She failed again. I figured out things that didn't work. I started discarding things that work. I would see the things that did work and do more of that. And then eventually, for people that watch me, it's like you can replicate. I'm gonna always be successful. Like all I do is win, 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 no matter what. But there's a science to it, and you've got to get past the fear. You've got to get past like somebody not liking something,
right,
or somebody not accepting. Like there's something you were supposed to learn in that space that was going to inform your next move. Period.
Mm-hmm.
So I am successful because I was messing stuff up all the time. It's amazing.
So earlier you mentioned that you didn't get here by yourself, or you don't
No.
accomplish anything by yourself. I like to say success is a team sport.
Absolutely.
So talk about the team and how that team helped you achieve whatever dream you had to achieve, whatever dream it
Yeah.
was. And we'll stick with the book. I mean, talk about the team that helped you do that.
Well, so when I decided to get serious and I got that I would say that spiritual notification that now was the time. It's like it's time to write.
Mhm.
It's been 7 years. Every year you put on the vision board, you said you would go write it, and then I go do something else. But now, I wound up connecting with a publisher, Game Changer Independent, that allows you to do your own independent publishing, and signed on with them. And that process was funny because I had 20 something 20 something pages written, and I had a title already for the book. So when I approached them, I was like, well, I already have something. They were like, scrap it. And I was like, no, 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 no. You don't understand. I've been working on this for 7 years. I already have a concept. And they were like, okay, so we're going to put that on. You don't have to scrap it. We're going to put it to the side, and we want you to start with a clean slate. Now, that scared me.
I
That
bet.
scared me
I bet.
because they're asking me to like start over. And I'm kind of like, but you mean all that hard work I've done to this point, even though it's 22 pages, we can't use none of that? And I'm thinking about the gravity of a book being 120 to 300 pages. But I got 20 and you telling me I got to start from zero? That was scary. However, going through their process, and I think that's very important to think about when you're dreaming big. Every dream has a process
Mm-hmm.
to get to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So going through that process helped me to create a framework that I can really help to share lessons that again, without going through that process, I don't have the framework that the book is based on now. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, what if I had just told them, no, you know, this is my book and I know what I'm doing. But they the experts, but I know. Okay. And if I had just really,
Wait, did you almost have a baby moment? Put some respect on my name.
oh man,
I ain't
like
gonna
I was
tell you no more.
I ain't telling you no more. Like I come in like, well, I already got this. And if I had insisted on that, what would this product actually have
Yeah.
looked like if I hadn't yielded myself
Hmm.
to the process?
Yeah.
And yielding yourself to a process means that you have to be open to one, not knowing everything. That's the other thing. We don't want people to know we don't know.
Yeah.
But how will you ever know if you're always pretending?
Mhm.
You can't get better if you don't, because there's knowledge that you need that's going to level you up. But if you show up like you know everything, then the people who can pour into you, the people that are supposed to help you, they can't do that, and you can't be your best self.
But the cool thing is that it sounds like the publisher, they were the team that you didn't realize you needed.
Oh, I needed the team, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
didn't know I needed them until I got into that process. So having that team really helped bring out the best in me. Right? It was like
Mhm.
it was like now I was a student athlete again, and now I had a coach and assistant coaches, and they are giving me instruction, and then I'm executing, and I'm getting better at it. So the first part was going through an outline and going through that process. And then the second part was then starting to really break down each of the chapters and get more intense. And then after we got the first version of it, taking it, rereading it, rearranging, organizing. Does this say what I want? And then that process helped me to really refine the message in a way that I believe it could be received and helpful to all the people that I want to help.
So therein lies your point earlier about it being a process. We got a few minutes, and so with that, what's the way forward for folks who have, they appreciate what you're saying here, but they're either cynical or afraid of their big dreams? What is the way forward for people like them, as far as you're concerned? What do you think?
The only person stopping you is you.
Mm-hmm.
It's nobody else. It's you. Part of this journey is about owning the power that you have. We only have power over one thing in this world. That's our choice.
Wow.
It's the only power you have.
Bars.
It's the only power you have. And if you have decided to not make a choice and say that it's somebody else's responsibility to make a way for you, then you've lost.
Yeah. So, I know I said that was the last question, but this is really the last question. When they see the stumbling block, getting past it to keep the dream alive.
Cry.
Because that's okay. Because that's okay. A lot of people don't think that's okay.
Cry. Be frustrated. I think all of those are part of my process. I have cried when things didn't go well, but after you cry, get back up, dust yourself off, and try again. And keep trying. Keep asking. You have to seek knowledge. There's something you don't know and you need to know. That's what's stopping you. But if you decide to stop seeking that thing, then yeah, you're going to fail. Like you'll never get there because you've stopped seeking answers to the problem.
I want you to close out with one piece of information. The next big thing for the HBCU Athletic Conference. I know you have a basketball championship coming up. What do you want people to look out for?
We're bringing in some new members.
Really?
Yep, working on press conference in another maybe 3-4 weeks.
Can you spill?
Oh, I can't spill yet, no. Because what I will tell you, look, first heard here on WBOK, there's a press conference we are preparing that'll happen in February to make that announcement. You heard it first here on WBOK, 1230.
Can we say how many?
We'll be bringing in an additional 2.
Oh,
and a possible.
Okay. Dr. Kiki Vega-Barnes, she is the commissioner of the HBCU Athletic Conference. And yes, that is the name of the conference, the HBCU Athletic Conference. But also, she is an author. Her new book is out, Blazing Your Own Trail, Faith, Focus, and Forward Momentum in Leadership. Information about Kiki is going to be in the Facebook chat. Also, we're going to put it in the chat on YouTube. Kiki, thanks a lot. Thank you for joining me on The Way Forward.
Thank you, Eddie.
We're going to be back in a few on The Way Forward on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about. Welcome back to The Way Forward on WBOK. Join the Good Morning Show 7 to 9 a.m. and the Front Porch 9 to 12. And and that is weekdays on WBOK, where New Orleans is talking about. Many thanks to Dr. Kiki Baker Barnes for joining me on the way forward to talk about the art of the big dream. Learn more about her by going to the link in the Facebook comments or in the YouTube chat. So let us go forward as we wrap up this edition. HBCUs lost a legend this past week. Now, if you're here in the Deep South, you may know this person, or you may not know this person, but they called him Mr. CIAA. His name was actually Abraham Mitchell. He passed away at the age of 95 in Virginia. Mr. CIAA was a super fan of the CIAA basketball tournament. And he was such a super fan that he was inducted into the conference's Hall of Fame. You see, if you don't know anything about the CIAA, it is the country's oldest black athletic conference. Now, these are the current members of the CIAA: Winston-Salem State, Virginia Union, Johnson C. Smith, Bowie State, Elizabeth City State, Fayetteville State, Bluefield State, Claflin, Lincoln of Pennsylvania, Livingstone, and Shaw, and St. Augustine's University. This basketball tournament is huge. It is a week-long event. Well, Mr. CIAA fit right in. He was known for his flashy suits, including suits that at times would match the colors of the winning team. He actually did colors for every team. Now, my wife, Halima, who you met last week here on the way forward, she grew up in North Carolina, so she knows all about the CIAA. And she had the pleasure of running into Mr. CIAA in one of the tournaments, and she had been to the tournament a couple of times. And one of the things that she talked about when I told her about his death is that part of the legend was that there were times when the suit that he wore, the colors of that team, they would win a game. He was considered a good luck charm for some of those teams. But he had this trick. You see, he wouldn't wear one suit for an entire game. Mr. CIAA would actually change suits at halftime and sometimes in between games. He was known to be generous with his time, and he would stop to take pictures with people, just about anybody who asked him to take a picture. And as Halima put it, he was almost like Santa Claus for HBCUs. This was somebody who a lot of people were happy to see. But here's the most important thing. Mr. CIAA, yes, he celebrated HBCUs, but he celebrated something that he simply enjoyed: the basketball tournament itself. And then he started, by extension, to celebrate HBCUs. You could actually say that this man was an influencer before becoming an influencer was even a thing. He would get annual shout-outs from the Tom Joyner Morning Show. The reason that I even put the CIAA basketball tournament on my bucket list was I would hear these shout-outs every single year. And I just had to go to this basketball tournament. Haven't crossed it off yet. Unfortunately, I won't get a chance to meet Mr. CIAA. But what a memory. What made him special is that Mitchell was Mr. CIAA for one simple reason. He enjoyed it. Yeah, you could say probably it may be safe to assume that he enjoyed the notoriety. He did, I'm sure, enjoy walking into the basketball tournament in the later years, especially in the 90s, and when we got into the 2000s. I'm sure he enjoyed people pointing him out and wanting to take pictures with him. But from what I hear, he wasn't known to have profited from his appearances at the tournament. In fact, one year, Mr. CIAA did not even make it to the CIAA tournament because, get this, the man did not have a ride. My point is this. Find that thing that you do, find that thing that you genuinely enjoy, because it brings you joy without having to make a production of it in some way. Spend time with family and friends without having to take a group selfie to post on Instagram. Watch that live music performance without letting the world know that you were even there. Go to a game and enjoy the game. The issue is that our society has become a place where people feel the need to live, dream, and achieve, either because we see other people doing it on TikTok or because we want our friends or frenemies on Facebook to take it all in, the thing that I did. But Mrs. CIAA is a reminder that we can be big dreamers and find joy in being influential without trying to be influencers. Just enjoy the ride that life takes you on. And that is a way for you to go forward. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of The Way Forward. You can check out the episode again on WBOK's Facebook and YouTube accounts. Use the hashtag The Way Forward WBOK. Also follow WBOK on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch. Tell a friend to hang out with us. The Way Forward is produced by Jared Bro. Thank you, my brother. And until next week, keep moving forward.